Qatar is one of the smallest countries in the Middle East, a flat peninsula carved by heat, wind, and salt. For centuries, it was a quiet land of fishermen and pearl divers, isolated from world powers and overshadowed by massive neighbors. The desert offered little. No rivers, no forests, almost no fertile soil. Life was shaped by survival, not ambition. When oil was discovered across the Gulf, the world changed rapidly. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the Emirates surged into wealth and global influence. Qatar, meanwhile, had only limited oil reserves, not enough to transform the nation the way oil did for others. By the 1970s, few believed Qatar had a future beyond a modest existence. It had no military strength, no regional leverage, and barely the infrastructure of a modern state. But what Qatar lacked above ground, it held in unimaginable quantities below the sea. Geologists surveying the waters noticed strange patterns, unusual seismic echoes, pressure pockets, and rock formations far larger than any standard oil field. What they found was staggering. Underneath Qatar lay the North Field, not just big, but the largest natural gas reserve ever discovered, a geological superstructure stretching across borders, shared only with Iran's South Pars. Billions of cubic meters of untouched gas, enough energy to power nations for generations. But the world didn't care. Natural gas wasn't considered valuable. It couldn't be shipped easily, pipelines were rare, and most producers simply burned excess gas as waste during oil extraction. Oil was the king. Gas was a nuisance. Qatar had discovered something enormous. But in the eyes of the world, it was a giant with no purpose. This is where Qatar made a decision that would redefine its future. While other nations focused entirely on oil, Qatar chose to take the biggest gamble in its history: build an economy centered on LNG, liquefied natural gas. It was a technological moonshot. Gas would be cooled to 162 degrees Celsius, turned into liquid, loaded onto specially built ships, and transported anywhere in the world. The cost was enormous. The risks were even bigger. Experts said it wouldn't work. Investors were skeptical. Even within the region, the idea was mocked. But Qatar pressed forward, funding massive industrial complexes, new ports, specialized tankers, and one of the most advanced LNG infrastructures ever attempted. This wasn't just development, it was reinvention. If LNG succeeded, Qatar would rise. If it failed, the country would face economic collapse. Few nations have ever taken a gamble this large. Even fewer have had it pay off. The global energy landscape shifted faster than anyone expected. As Asia industrialized, as Europe searched for reliable alternatives to oil and coal, and as environmental concerns grew, demand for LNG surged. Suddenly, the world needed what Qatar had mastered. LNG ships left Qatar's ports in waves, delivering energy to Japan, South Korea, China, India, Europe, and beyond. Long-term contracts guaranteed decades of income. Qatar became the world's largest LNG exporter, and the country transformed before the world's eyes. Doha's skyline rose from the desert, a city of towers, stadiums, museums, and futuristic architecture. Public services improved dramatically. Free education, free healthcare, zero income tax, and some of the highest salaries in the region. Qatar's new wealth wasn't just visible, it reshaped the nation's identity. A once overlooked desert peninsula became one of the richest societies on Earth, and it used that wealth to buy something even more important: influence. The country launched Al Jazeera, a network that reshaped media in the Middle East and gave Qatar a voice far louder than its size. It challenged traditional broadcasters, introduced open debate, and put Qatar on the global news map in a way few expected from such a small state. It also built Education City, a vast academic complex hosting branches of top universities like Georgetown, Northwestern, and Carnegie Mellon. This move brought international talent to Doha and positioned the country as a regional center for research, innovation, and higher education. Qatar invested globally as well, buying real estate in major cities, acquiring stakes in banks and energy firms, and becoming a quiet but influential shareholder in companies across Europe and Asia. These investments strengthened Qatar's connections far beyond its geographic size. Then came Qatar Airways, which expanded rapidly and earned global recognition. With one of the youngest fleets in the world, the airline turned Doha into a key transit hub, connecting continents and giving Qatar enormous visibility. Sports became another tool of influence. Qatar funded major teams abroad, hosted international tournaments, and eventually secured the 2022 FIFA World Cup, bringing global attention to a country most viewers had never heard of before. Diplomatically, Qatar positioned itself as a neutral mediator, hosting negotiations, facilitating ceasefires, and opening communication channels when others couldn't. It became a surprising but effective bridge in one of the world's most complex regions. Gas created wealth. But it was strategy, media, education, investment, aviation, and diplomacy that transformed Qatar into a global player. In 2017, the region imposed a blockade. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt cut ties, closed borders, halted trade, and shut airspace. Many believed Qatar would collapse within days. Its only land border was sealed. Imports ground to a halt. Air routes vanished overnight. But what happened shocked everyone. Qatar adapted instantly. It rerouted flights through Iran and Turkey, opened new shipping channels, ramped up local food production, and accelerated self-sufficiency projects. And crucially, its LNG exports continued uninterrupted. The energy contracts Qatar built over decades became its shield. The blockade, intended to weaken Qatar, instead proved how resilient and globally integrated it had become. Qatar not only survived, it emerged stronger. Today, the North Field remains Qatar's crown jewel. The country is expanding production by nearly 60%, a project so large it will reshape global energy flows again. As nations push away from coal and seek cleaner solutions, LNG has become essential, and Qatar is at the center of it. Its decades-long head start, its massive reserves, and its global partnerships give it unmatched influence. The future of Qatar is still tied to that hidden resource discovered decades ago, a resource once dismissed by the world. Qatar's rise wasn't luck, it wasn't oil, and it wasn't chance. It was a secret buried beneath the Gulf, and a country willing to believe in that secret long before anyone else did. A tiny desert nation became one of the richest on Earth because it dared to bet everything on the invisible force beneath its feet. A reminder that sometimes the greatest transformations begin far below the surface.